People will come to the fore if leaders will realize that this is a journey, not just a destination. And if we can get that, we're going to unleash unbelievable power.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Kenneth Blanchard.
Well, it's really nice to be with you. You know, I'm really excited about our time together because we're going to talk about how do you build high-performing teams. You know, I was interested in teams ever since I was a little kid. I remember my father said to me, he said, Ken, besides learning how to play golf and tennis and bowl and all those individual sports, he said, I want you to get involved in at least one team sport because teams are very different than just working as an individual, and I want you to learn that kind of thing. And you know, teams have really come of age in these last few years. Because what's happened in the last decade is everything seems to have changed in the whole business world. I mean, everything's up for grab. I mean, there are no fixed products anymore. There's no fixed markets. I mean, you can't count on anything. What organizations need to do is figure ways to respond at the very lowest level of the organization, respond everywhere to what's going on. We have to figure out ways to tap into the energy of our people at every single level. And so I think that the team is the new organizational structure of the future. In fact, some people are talking about teamwork and cooperation as the new management revolution. And yet the problem in realizing how important teams is that most of us aren't trained on how to manage teams. I mean, you look back at all the management training you all have had over the years, what has it basically been? You know, how to do a performance review, how to manage people one-on-one. Very little training on how to manage a team. And so a lot of people don't know what to do. And that's what we want to try to deal with in this program. And the way we're going to deal with the issue of teaching you about running groups is we're going to integrate what we know about group development and stages of group development with the work on situational leadership that we've been doing. We call it Situational Leadership 2, which is really an outgrowth of the work that Paul Hersey and I originally did. And we're really excited about that integration. And the integration was really motivated, and a lot of the work was really done by Don Carew and Eunice Parisi Carew, who have been friends and colleagues of mine now for well over 20 years. And Don and Eunice are founding associates of Blanchard Training and Development. And for years they were saying, Ken, this is really important stuff. We've got to take a look at this. Now, to show this kind of relationship between stage of group development and leadership style, we brought together a group of actual managers and put them in a real-life situation and asked them to take on a problem that could happen in any of your organizations. And we created an organization called ComQuote. Now, the group has been formed into a task force that the president has asked them to set up. Okay, her name is Christine Hampton. And Christine's concern is the company has grown a lot the last 3 years, but the feeling is that it's not growing at the rate it should because there's a lot of stories out there and a lot of feedback that their customer service is really hurting them. And so she's created this task force of people from a lot of different departments and given them the charge of looking into customer service and an impact on what they're doing, and then what they're supposed to do is report back to top management. So let me introduce the characters to you, the people who are going to be as part of this task force. Don Carew. In this simulation, Don is Executive Vice President. He has been tapped by the company's CEO to assemble and run this Blue Ribbon Task Force to address the service problems at ComQuote. His job is to transform this group of individuals into a high-performing team. Karen Sablon. Karen adopts the position of Assistant Vice President of Human Resources. As the plot thickens, it becomes clear that one of the problems is training. It falls to Karen to do a lot of the legwork regarding customer surveys and employee training. Irv rule. Irv is assuming the position of manager of research and development. Irv is especially sensitive to allegations that the audio text system doesn't do what ComQuote claims it will. He is under severe time pressures outside of the demands of the group. As the story unfolds, the demands on Irv and his group increase. Bill Foster. In this simulation, Bill is director of finance. As the group begins to explore the problem, they press for more resources. Bill has to hold the line on spending while he helps the group look for resources to solve the problem. Mim McNulty. Mim is director of operations at ComQuote. Her group is responsible for installing the hardware at the client location. As the story unfolds, her group is embroiled in the controversy over training the users to use the equipment. Russ Thornhill. Russ's role in the simulation is manager of customer service. When the news reaches the group that almost 30% of the company's customers are unhappy about the service, the heat's on Russ. Perhaps his position at the heart of the service controversy is what propels him towards a leadership position as the group matures. Maria Bowman. Here, Maria assumes the role of manager of sales. User dissatisfaction with what her group is selling is hurting sales. She feels the sales group is suffering unfairly from problems elsewhere in the company. But the group questions whether Maria's salespeople may not be misrepresenting the product. Now, when it comes to stages of group development, we're going to be working from some of the concepts that R.B. LeCourcier developed. He reviewed and looked at over 200 studies of groups, all kinds of groups. And what he found was that there was a very predictable pattern of stages of development that groups somehow couldn't avoid, that they were inevitable, and every kind of group seemed to go through these same stages. And so we're going to be talking about these 4 stages of group development. The first stage is orientation. In orientation, you're quite eager, you're excited, you wonder what's going to go on, what's my role, who's doing what, and all. And during orientation, you have certain characteristics and certain needs as a particular group. The second stage is called dissatisfaction, because what LeCourcier found was that every group kind of has a little bit of a downer because you were all excited about it, and then the reality of working together sets in. Now, if the group is able to work through dissatisfaction and start to bring reality and expectations closer together, they move to our third stage of group development, which is resolution. And with resolution, what happens is the group now starts to figure ways that they can really work with each other. They start to develop group norms, ways of communicating, understanding. They really kind of resolve some of the conflict. And if they continue to work well together, then they can move to our final stage, which is production, where now they are working as a high-performing team. They are feeling great about themselves, morale is high, people feel good about their skills, and their production is tremendous. And so these are the 4 stages that groups tend to go through. And they're inevitable, you can't avoid them, and what you got to do is manage them. Now, this is where situational leadership comes in. According to situational leadership, there is no best leadership style. It all depends on the situation. Now, the leadership style that you use with somebody is a combination of 2 behaviors. Directive behavior, where you're telling them what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and where to do it, and closely supervising them. And supportive behavior, where you're listening to them, you're involving them in decision making, you're patting them on the back, you're drawing them out. And you'll see we have 4 different combinations of directive and supportive behavior. We move from directing to coaching to supporting to delegating. And what I want you to see here is the curve running through the 4 styles is really like a railroad track. If you start at directing and you want to end up at delegating, what 2 stations do you have to go through in order to get there? You got to go through coaching and supporting. You can't cut corners. And so what we want to show you here is the relationship between stage of group development and leadership style. Okay, as we begin to eavesdrop in the first meeting of our task force, let me just make a couple of comments. First of all, I want to reinforce for you that these folks are not actors and actresses. They're managers. There was no script written for them. There was a task which was put before them to take a look at customer service problems and issues. And you might say, well, why didn't you get actors? Why didn't you get actresses and plan this whole thing? We are so confident of the research that's been done on groups and its relationship between stages of development and leadership that we were willing to let this thing go and see what happened. And so let's take a look at this first meeting and see what orientation looks like and what Don, as the leader, does, because you're going to see that they're quite dependent on him as the group gets started. As we join our team, they are meeting for the first time as a Blue Ribbon Task Force to tackle a customer service crisis at ComQuote.
And before this is over, we're going to know each other well. But I wanted to say a couple of words about why you're here. Christine and I have been concerned about this whole customer service issue. It's a crisis out there. Some of you probably have read this Inc. article that came out last month, but I just wanted just to kind of set a tone about what we're up against. Read what, just some excerpts from it. It says, the meteoric rise of ComQuote, Inc., a multi-million-dollar Minneapolis-based audio tech company, seems to be stalled in the wake of reports of poor service and possible technical difficulties. Now, this is serious. A recent survey, they say, of the burgeoning audio techs industry ranked ComQuote fourth out of the top 4 audio techs firms in service, and slightly better, third on technical support. Christine Hampton, and this gives some response to where Christine is, President and CEO of ComQuote, acknowledges that there are some service and technical problems, but reports that the company is well along in addressing them. Now, she's on the line currently.
A group in the orientation stage is very dependent upon the leader. It's up to Don to provide a directing leadership style by clarifying the group's mission.
That's really our charge, to find out what's going on in the company that's leading to this bad rap that we're getting out there. And then after we get that information, we need to figure out, okay, what are we going to do about it?
And I'm really curious about that in terms of why I am here, because being out of research and development, we have a service problem, which I relate to more to, service, not so much in development research. I'm really curious of why I'm here, again, being very busy, but, I'm glad to be here.
Well, because we're not sure where all the problems rest. There are some indicators that say maybe it's in the technical area, and we need to take a look at that just as much as we need to look at customer support and operations. And these are strong letters, but I think they give you a flavor of what we're up against, at least with some. This was one that we talked about from Central Airlines, and it's to Christine. I won't mince words. Your audio tech information system quite simply doesn't do what you claim it will. Customer complaints have skyrocketed. Our customers are complaining bitterly about being routed through an endless series of robotic operators registering up to 15 rings per selection. Now, I don't know, Irv, whether that's something that's a technical R&D kind of issue, or whether it's an installation issue. We need to sort that out.
Possible they haven't been upgraded yet.
It says you've designed a system so baroque that people would frankly rather fly another airline than try to get flight information from Central Air.
I'm seeing a direct correlation, Don, in our accounts receivable is growing. I think it has to do with the customer service contracts out there, that we're not providing the service, so people are not paying for their contracts. Right. Or there's a delay, and that is hurting us financially, right where it hurts.
It's sounding a little bit like possibly we're misrepresenting ourselves in some way, because they're expecting something and they're not getting it.
Right.
No, I don't think so. I think our salespeople are well trained, and I certainly they have a remarkable success rate within our company. So this has not happened before.
Maria, I think that we may need to keep that open, though. We need to keep the possibility open that there might be someone out there who is giving some information that's not correct. And I think you do have a good sales force.
I'm not saying anything about your sales force, but if we have statements saying that we promise you this.
When the group gets ahead of itself, Don may need to intercede and redirect them to the business at hand. And when he sees the group is anxious about what they don't know, he turns their attention to the task of getting the information they need.
Let's not get to figuring out what to do about it. Let's see what information do we need.
Isn't that what we're here for, to basically find out first what the problem is?
What is the problem?
Is that what we're doing?
The first thing, it seems to me, is gathering information before we even can identify the problem. And I think that probably we have several problems. We need more information and more systematically gathered information. Some of it's available, some of it we might have to generate.
The other
I'd
thing,
like to see
I'm sorry.
that if you would also give us some information about the percentage of time the salespeople are spending on customer complaints.
Right. Oh, great. I'd love to do that.
In terms of your area, Karen, you said that you could get us an outline of what kind of training we currently do, both for users and for our internal people.
Exactly. That would be very easy to pull together.
I would like you especially to give us some indication of how much focus we put on customer service. R&D, could you get us some clearer picture of the technical capabilities that we have in relation to some of the issues that you're familiar with? I mentioned a kind of complaint that we get fairly frequently about people being frustrated with having to press so many buttons before they finally get to either a human or to the source of their data. Is there any way that we can reduce that we can respond to that kind of thing? Can you do some check on that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's a whole study on that, and we've done our best, we feel, but maybe we can take another look at that.
I got to catch a plane. I'm about to get late. But
all right.
We need to make sure that 2 weeks from today we're back here at 9 o'clock.
I'm definitely gung-ho on taking on this project and moving along with it, improving our client service out there and getting our reputation back in line.
Good
All right.
enough.
You'll get the minutes up.
Yes, got the minutes.
As this stage 1 meeting closes, team members are eager to be in the group and have high expectations, but they're still very dependent on Don. In orientation, people usually come together pretty eager and excited, but they're a little cautious in the sense they're trying to find out, how do I fit in? What's the role around here? What's our purpose? What kind of demands are there going to be? We kind of call this the sniffing stage. It's like when dogs first meet each other, you see them, they're sniffing around and all, and they're trying to feel the situation out. Who is this person? What is this leader here? And what's Don like? And what are people going to expect of me? And what are the demands and all? And people are going, they're sniffing around trying to figure things out. And it's a really kind of a fun stage because they have pretty high expectations, but they don't know much about what they're doing. Their competency as a group is low. Very important thing for you to understand about groups is that you could bring together highly competent people, which we felt we did, all who are very good at what they do. But you bring them together and now they're beginners. As operating as a group. And a lot of people don't understand that, and they think you bring all good people together in a group that the group's going to function well. Hey, they might be great at running their own operation, but they haven't worked together. So you're going to see a lot of dependency on the leader here. They're going to keep on looking to Don to see what they should be doing next and where they all fit in. And so he's going to really be a very important character in this first stage, because if he didn't, the group would really flounder. That dependency on the leader is really clear. We went back and looked at the amount of airtime that Don had in that session. 80% of the time, he was in the controlling position doing the talking and all. And what we want to do is watch how that changes as the stage moves along. But the group really depended on Don to clarify the purpose and set them straight. When they got off course, he got them back on. And then he started giving people assignments. Karen, would you look at some of the training implications? And Irv, what's it look like in terms of our R&D capacity? And Maria, how much time are the salespeople spending in terms of dealing with customer complaints? And so he was really managing the process. Now, the second stage, dissatisfaction, it's going to be a little tougher. And you start to see people getting a little frustrated. Their skills, their competency is improving a little bit because they're getting better, but suddenly there's this dip in morale and commitment because of the realities of the situation. So What Don really has to do is deal with this reality and now start to move to a coaching style. So let's see what happens now as the group starts to move into dissatisfaction.
Well, welcome back, folks. It's good to see you again.
Thanks, Dan.
I got a couple of things I want to get us started with. One thing that I was meeting with Christine last night, and she'd been going over some of our minutes, and one of the things, she's been feeling the heat still from some of the things that we've been talking about. And so she's concerned when she was looking at the minutes about where the action steps are. So she's feeling pressure, and she's really saying to us, let's get with it.
In the dissatisfaction stage, Don has to move along the railroad track to a coaching style, offering generous amounts of direction and support. Here, Don guides the group in gathering the information they need to solve the problem.
R&D, Herb, you said that solving a peak time overload wasn't quite as simple. Maybe more sophisticated technology.
High-speed computer.
And you said maybe it's a $2 million item.
Right, we came up with that.
$2 million, Irv?
Yeah.
You're saying you're going to need $2 million more from me,
Yeah.
in addition to the increase in budget I already
It's
have
a hardware
approved to you.
change. Yeah, it requires a hardware change plus software. Yeah, so it's quite a...
We can't foot an additional cost of $2 million with given the current budget constraints.
Depends on the time. I mean, if you want to do this project, in a very short period of time, then I can't do it with my staff. But if you give us some time, we can do it within the present
If
staff.
it's one of the most critical issues that are out there, let me go on, because we're going to have to come back to a bunch of these. Customer support, what we've got here is that it takes 6 hours to respond to a customer average time, and 1 day to complete a repair if site visit is required.
That's, we need support in a couple of areas. One of the things that I found is that I don't think training is strong enough. And the other thing that's going to affect that would be more money to train and be prepared for this.
Russ, most of our training dollars goes into technical training now. Most of our training dollars goes into technical training and goes into sales training.
Right.
So you're saying you need more?
It's a possibility that we need more money for that.
Or maybe we need to put it into a different place.
Right.
Maybe we're not doing it in the right place.
Maybe it's the wrong kind of training we're giving your people. I know I have a fellow the other day came to the lab to fix one of our instruments,
In this stage, Don continues the directive behavior he started in stage 1.
One more couple of capsule items that I want to make sure is on the table. The survey that you did, ma'am, bottom line says that you confirm that about 30% of our customers are not satisfied to various degrees.
Right. Basically, what we've been doing is assuming that the people know what we're talking about, dumping it in their lap, and walking out.
The bottom line is, what are we going to do about user training?
All of our training, when we talk technical and sales training, has been just that. This is how this paperclip works, and this is how this coffee cup works, but it doesn't give me any kind of information to tell you how this coffee cup works. I have so few people, I mean, they can go out and install something, but then they got to get out of there and get somewhere else. They don't have time to sit there with the customer and take them through this thing. And then the manuals, the books that we give them for the system itself are so complicated that nobody can understand it.
So you're saying they're not even using the manuals that we're producing?
They can't
We're
even
spending
read
all
it.
this money on manuals and they're not using them?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
As the reality of the task comes into focus, the group gets discouraged, even angry.
I mean, maybe you guys in the techie world can understand them, but if our customers can't understand them, what good are these manuals then?
My manuals are for our people and for production. They're not for customers.
But who gives the information to marketing?
I do. And it's up to
Marketing doesn't
to take that.
understand it
Well,
either.
that's their problem, not mine. It's
Well,
up to marketing.
why isn't marketing part of this group here?
Why isn't manufacturing in
Well, maybe
Didn't
3 of us will be
Christine
out of a job.
Herb, I think that you're kind of wanting to step out of responsibility with some of these things.
Russ, I have a hard time in talking about this because it's not a job. I hope it's not a job security problem, but just
I think you're a little out of line with that.
I want to just stop the action for a minute. We've been doing a lot of kind of getting some of the poison out.
When the group splinters into factions, it's up to Don to turn it around and bring them together again.
We're all putting energy in here, and that's tremendous, but somehow we've got to figure out how do we put that energy and work together with it. I keep saying it's not my job. That's, from my perspective, exactly what we need to quit saying in this company. That's what we're evidently saying to customers. It's not my job. The thing that we haven't talked a lot about here is morale of our people. He said we've got some indicators of some down feelings.
Some of that's right here in this room. Some of that's right here with us.
Down, and I think it's
Yeah.
right. For us,
I think if we're feeling
pretty evident
frustrated,
in
we're going
our
to pass that off
communication
to
today.
some of our own people, and I think that we clearly are very frustrated about some things here at this point. You know, we've identified some issues, and what are we doing about it?
I think what we need is department right now. We need to go into each department, manufacturing, product group, my group, and really define what is our understand, perceived function of that department.
Can you and Mim and Russ take the responsibility for putting a group of people together that
Absolutely.
would cross those boundaries,
I'd love to
and so that when we meet, we can come up with some
Love to. I've got the computers for that.
information.
Love to do it.
And the other focus group, the customer group,
Yeah.
can you take that
I
and
can
get some of
work
those
it.
rolling? Get
Yeah.
some of your people to get them rolling? And how about the internal, getting some internal people?
Put in the
And in the meantime, if you could do some juggling of figures and just see where there is some wiggle room. I know there is wiggle room. There's always wiggle room. So let's see what we got.
Well, you and I have that finance meeting with Christine next week anyway, so we can look at the numbers there. We are over budget right now, as you know, but we'll talk to her about that.
Thanks for being a little flexible.
The two,
Well, listen.
flexible and feasible.
This has been a tough meeting, but we're hanging
Big
in,
effort.
and that's what we need to do. We need to hang
Give
in
another one.
to get through this stuff.
Yeah.
Now we got some stuff on the table, and I think we can make some headway.
Great.
Go well.
Okay, so you can see all the seeds of dissatisfaction there. You hear a lot more I than we kinds of thing, and people really getting concerned. Bill saying, what's going on over 2 million more you want, Irv? And we got these manuals and nobody's using them, you know, and you see Russ kind of attack Irv and say, you know, what's going on over there? And he says, Russ, I hope it's not a job security problem. And, you know, this whole process, Don's got to keep on jumping in there, continuing to provide the direction the group needs to keep on track, but he also has to help get out some of the feelings and the frustration and the attitudes people have, because you don't want to squelch it. And at the end, you know, he has to give assignments again, kind of keeps the group going. What often happens in this stage with a lot of managers, a lot of team leaders, is when they see the frustration, and some of it maybe even turns into anger, they run for the woods. They go to a delegating leadership style and back off and just look at the thing in wonderment. And you really need it there. You can't get off the railroad track, you know. So he started an orientation with a directive behavior. Now he's got to stay on the track and keep the direction going so that they can kind of get coached through this dissatisfaction stage. Now this stage is not a bad stage. A lot of people say, how do you avoid this? You really can. It's always going to be to some degree. How long it lasts is really important, though, because some groups never get out of dissatisfaction. I know groups have been there for years, you know, and everybody's moaning and groaning and all that kind of thing because the leader just doesn't know how to deal with it. Or if you don't deal with it, it can just really blow up and really get worse. So it's not a bad stage. It's not a bad stage any more than if you called an adolescent bad because an adolescent is going through adolescence. Will Rogers one time said that when a kid turns 13, you should put him in a barrel and then put a little hole in the top, and you can kind of feed them through the hole. And then when they get 17, you fill up the hole. So a lot of people just don't like teenagers, I guess, and all. But this is not a bad stage. It's one that's got to be managed. Now, Don at the end says this was a tough meeting, but we have to hang in there. And that's what the leader has to do, is hang in there to work this group through this, because in the very conflict and in the frustrations are the seeds of creativity. And so it's not bad, he just has to manage them through it. Now what you're going to see is the group now several weeks later in a meeting after they've had several meetings, and now they're in the resolution stage. And you're going to see a very different group. Watch them non-verbally. Look at the tone of the group. Their smiles, they start to kid each other, and you hear more we kinds of things. And you're going to see a shift in Don's style, because watch the different members of the group taking over leadership. And Don's airtime, his control is much less. He's mainly facilitating and listening and responding. And so in the resolution stage, the group has kind of worked through some of the frustration of dissatisfaction, and now they've figured some ways that they can kind of work together. So let's take a look and see what Don does with the group as they move into the resolution stage.
Well, let's see if we can get started. We're running a little bit late this morning, but I think that we've come a long way. I've been doing a lot of thinking about what we've been doing over these past couple of weeks, and one of the things I've found is that I was really looking forward to reconnecting with people. I've been find myself really feeling an identity with this group, or building identity, and a lot more optimism than I felt before when we...
In the resolution stage, the group is beginning to internalize the goals. Here, Bill asks for Don to clarify the group's mission.
Don, I'd feel a little more comfortable if we can maybe restate what our goals are, because we're getting a lot more ideas thrown out again.
What I would say is the overall mission, from my perspective, is to become seen as the best organization in our industry around both technology and service.
By stage 3, the group, armed with more information, sets about problem solving with increasing confidence. Don is able to move along the railroad track from coaching to a supporting and facilitating style.
I think we came up with about 2 years on that.
Right,
and
yeah.
that was really a problem. It was a long-term problem. It really wouldn't help us out immediately. And also the expense. I just had a rough estimate of about, I think it was around $2 million, and that seemed to be a real problem. Of course, I can see that, definitely. And Bill and I talked about it before this meeting. The results is that we did a evaluation of it, and we also got some more input. We got some more input from sales, but we also felt that our group, we could move it up quicker. We could do it probably within about 12 months, maybe even 10 months, we could accomplish it.
Wow.
And there is a possibility that the cost might even be...
As group members work more gracefully together, their level of performance increases.
And sent a real nice letter of introduction to other departments and explained to them what we're there for, and that took away a lot of apprehension.
Yeah,
That was great.
Our last meeting, I know you guys all recall that there was a slight interference with responsibilities and who was responsible for what. So what I did basically was sent out the responsibilities for each area, and I think that may clarify some of the concerns and some of the issues. At this point, we kind of need to sit back and weigh things out, but I think that will really help.
In the resolution stage, concern by group members for their individual areas gives way to concern for the company as a whole.
One of the things that did come out of our focus group that we need to take a look at, and that is the support that our employees are getting from us and from management.
That really was. They felt, I think we picked up, they felt abandoned by Chris.
Well, I think they're just feeling that the only focus we've got is on the money aspect and not on the customer aspect of it. Because they get great congratulations when they do these huge sales, but then they're not getting anything for supporting them.
Right, just the day-to-day, grind.
And they're also hearing all the problems that our customers are having. I mean, we mentioned, 30% of our customers are unhappy, and that seemed to really impact them.
Right.
They didn't get picked up or stroked for the good things that our customers, our happy customers, say.
Increasingly, group members grow comfortable with assuming a leadership position. Their dependence on Don decreases.
One of the areas that I don't want to miss, and we brought this up, and I think as a group we might want to come to some conclusion on that, and that was the issue about $50,000. And I would like to see us as a group come to a decision and just represent the fact that this is what we need to do.
What I hear is from everybody is a real commitment to the notion of doing some serious things about how we serve customers. And one of those things, I mean, to really, and one of those things...
As the group gains more confidence, Don becomes more supportive.
And I think if that's a priority commitment, that we have to put priority dollars on it. And to start off, we've said we would shake loose $50,000, but I don't think that
And I think there's no
that's
doubt.
all.
I think all of us, as a team, really come together and said that, we will dedicate a focus group for these issues, and we will dedicate dollars for training here. I think we're really coming together.
I really think that's great, and if you'll take the lead, I think that'd be
But
super.
we have already taken a look at the budgetary constraints that we're faced with, and we've already taken that $50,000 and moved it and earmarked it into Karen's budget for customer service training. And what I'd like, as far as a commitment from you, Karen, is to look at it not so much as that's the rules, $50,000, but
Right.
use it as a guideline.
Thanks a lot for softening your attitude on that. That's real important.
You're welcome.
You were.
Our salespeople, when we were querying our customers about why they were dissatisfied, we found out, interestingly enough, that those companies who had a technical person communicating with our technical people were able to communicate better. Right.
Well, in terms of sales, when your people go out initially, they find out that there aren't any technical people there. We might be able to offer some sort of service to assist them with that.
Right.
Some additional service.
Now we know to look out for that. Now we know to find out what kind of person is going to be at the other end communicating with you,
Exactly.
so that we
Exactly.
can match up better
Right.
the people. And,
And that's just a
big
small piece of the
improvement.
pie. I mean, there's a lot of
Right.
issues here, and we all have our doubts, but that's a small piece of pie. The bottom line is we need to improve our customer service.
Well, we've only really been at it for a couple of months,
Yeah.
and I think that we need to keep it as a priority until we really have an action plan rolling.
In
Work
terms of
something out.
communication with the customer, I think Maria and I can handle that together because she gets a lot of feedback initially, and then I get a lot of feedback on the phone.
I
So
think
we
that would
can
work.
work on tightening up our systems for getting some good communication and really taking a good hard look at it. So we can work on that together.
So communication with the customer will be
Between the three
your
of us.
responsibility.
Right, I guess all the three of us.
Internal communication will be my responsibility. I
Yeah,
think
with
that
the
would work.
newsletters and getting that out.
Maybe we can look into investing into a real nice desktop publishing system for you.
Do you have the
Really?
money?
Right. I feel like Santa Claus.
No,
You got a bright side of that this morning, huh?
that costs money, Bill. I don't
That's
know about
right.
that.
We've got the money.
And you've already,
Yeah.
Okay, before we leave, and I know people are in a hurry to get out of here, but I wanted to do a quick check on, we've got our assignments sort of clear, we know what we're going to be doing, but how are we, I want to check on how you're doing with this effort.
Well, I have several concerns. I know we, spoke about, training and giving me dollars, but I just, I have my doubts that training will not resolve the entire issue.
I agree with you. That's one of the reasons I thought that Mim and I could be working on what's going on in terms of the internal morale and all the other issues, the focus groups, and I think are just as important. I don't know about others, but I don't see you as carrying the burden. I think that
In the resolution stage, the group is likely to avoid conflict and disagreement for fear of losing their newfound cohesion.
I still need more people in my department, and I haven't heard anyone say, we've got the money for that.
Quite frankly, I don't think that throwing money at the problem is the answer. And that's where my concern is. So, yeah, I am kind of leery. I want to do my best to make sure that we can reallocate funds to the training. That's okay, because that's a budget item that's already been approved. It's more of a reallocation. But as far as, when it comes to either capital expense or if we invest...
Here, Don steps in with support for the dissenting member. Conflict and disagreement are a necessary part of a high-performing
I
team.
can't commit money that we don't have.
that's why
And I am real nervous
you're
about
so
that.
critical on this committee, because without that kind of perspective, we could just go pie in the sky. And we need those different people. We need your anxieties out there so that we can be realistic, because I don't want us to just go off and sort of blue sky stuff and then nothing happens, and then we begin to feel like we haven't accomplished anything. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
All right.
Okay, the resolution stage, quite different than the dissatisfaction stage, because what you see is the commitment to move back up. Morale kind of goes up. But you have to be really aware here that it's a little fragile, particularly the confidence. What often happens with the fragileness of the group as they enter resolution is that nobody wants to rock the boat. They don't want to bring up any problems for fear that they're going to do what? Go back to dissatisfaction. What Irving Janis talked about a lot was the group think. And a group think mentality is when you get a whole bunch of people and they all make a decision that none of them individually think is any good, but they didn't want to say anything. And so all of a sudden they end up doing things that nobody wanted. When you get to resolution, you need to solve problems, don't cover them up. And you now have more skills, see, because the competency thing has been growing as you move from orientation through to satisfaction up into resolution. But you see the group leadership change there. You see Russ really taking on some leadership and Karen taking on. I love the Karen where she said, I think that's just a small piece of the pie. We have to look at the big picture. I mean, here's one of the members putting out the big picture. And Don's role is clearly shifted from directing in the orientation to coaching and dissatisfaction to now really kind of the facilitator and the supporter. And because he didn't back off the fragileness, the group now can even grow further and move to the final stage that we call production. And in production, competency is really high. People really have the skills now to work together, and so is commitment. They're both on the money. Productivity, morale are high. People are feeling good. They're interacting well. People are feeling appreciated and listened to. And as you watch this session, notice how little involvement you see from Don. And it doesn't mean when the leader goes to a delegating style that nobody's providing direction and support, because for any group to function well, direction and support have to be being given all the time. But it doesn't have to be the assigned leader. In fact, where it really gets powerful is when people jump in and play roles at different times. That's another important sign of a high-performing group: flexibility, as people are willing to play all those different roles. So you'll see Don in a very different position now as the group is starting to really hum. So let's take a look at the production stage.
Well, hi folks. It's great to see you again. I'm eager to get rolling, but there's lots of stuff on the table. There's lots of things that people have been doing and been a lot of activity, so we ought to just...
By the production stage, the group has a thorough understanding of the goals and a high level of task mastery. They need very little direction or support from Don, and therefore a delegating leadership style becomes more appropriate.
I'm really excited because there's been a lot of progress made for the newsletter. As you all know, I've interviewed, and some of my staff has interviewed you, and have really pulled together some information on the department. As far as the training program, the orientation process, the section that we will incorporate the customer service issue is coming along really smoothly, and we're able to handle that internally.
Group members are comfortable supporting one another, something they used to expect from their leader.
Meaning you expressed some apprehension. Are you doing pretty good now with that? Are you feeling okay about it?
I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
I am feeling better. I feel much better with the internal resources than I do with the external as far as our ongoing process. So,
Good.
and I thank you all for your help. It was wonderful getting the feedback and very constructive information.
Good.
So,
I got some really good feedback from my staff when they came back. You know, they met with your people, Mim and Maria, and they felt real good about what they learned. You know, the different groups going out together, working together to resolve some issues and so on. They came back with a real positive attitude. They need to know something. We work on that. Let's go find out about it.
are they at the point where they're just providing a lot of information? Are they also coming back and suggesting new ideas and making recommendations?
Yeah.
Good, good.
They really are.
They're working with themselves to solve particular problem there. The three of us.
Problems that used to stymie the group are handled easily by a high-performing team.
Solve the problem there.
Well, I'm happy to report that my people really put their nose to the grindstone, and we did some creative thinking and came up with a creative solution, and we are going to be able to finance the $2 million.
I don't know.
So,
Don can now relinquish the leadership role.
I don't know.
So it wasn't easy, I got to tell you, the reason we were able to justify it was because of Irv provided me with the information that I needed. You know, we still have to work within our budget, but I think it's a good budget.
My group really got wound into that, just investigating. We got so hyped on doing something, and this is really It'd be great to go back with that news.
That's great. We have the dollars and everything, and that's really exciting. But as far as our time frame with all the additional research and everything, we're still going to work around the
Yeah.
12-month period.
I can make, we've again further looked into that, and we're very comfortable with 12 months.
Are you?
Good.
That's a real comfort. I'm not just saying that to make you happy.
Good.
Because you had some concern.
Sincere comfort.
Sincere
Yeah.
That's make me
No
feel
pressure.
good, right?
In fact, we might even give you a Christmas present.
What are some of your thoughts, Ben?
Well, I guess I'm going back to our previous meetings where, I mean, everything seems to be going really well right now, and we seem to be on a positive note and a positive trend and a positive move, but I think there's still some issues we need to talk about.
The whole issue around the computer user, or the user manual.
User manual.
And I thought that there was some expectation. I thought maybe it was you, Russ, or you, men, that were going to take some action on that.
So maybe at this point, that's our next big thing that we need to conquer right now, is to address that.
Herb, will you be able
No,
to...
I see no problem with that.
okay.
Fine.
I think we need to have a target date, a deadline on that kind of thing. Otherwise, it's the kind of thing that keeps getting
Yeah, on the
put
manual.
off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of
Well,
those things
that's-
nobody wants to do.
Can we get a
That's a good
rough
idea.
draft maybe, and, by the next meeting in 30 days, or just something real rough? Is that too short, or?
Oh, no, I don't think so at all.
No.
Why don't you and I just get together
Sure, no
and
problem.
start hitting something out on it?
Yeah. It's got to keep out the technical jargon, right?
Yeah.
Right. Are you happy now?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
okay.
Once a group gains a reputation as a high-performing team, it's not unusual for them to be asked to take on new tasks.
Well,
Let me
punch
just say
each other out a
again,
couple of times.
mentioned about this creating another committee, and told you Christine is excited about the kind of stuff we've been doing, and she thinks that because of the background we've had and the struggles we've had and the way we've come together with some of the projects that we've got going and are going to get going, that she'd like us to take the lead on being a task force that will now tackle the long-range issue around quality service and quality products.
A significant change may cause the group to regress. This team handles the suggestion of a new task well, openly airing their concerns and reaching consensus on how to proceed. Don moves back along the railroad track to a supporting and facilitating
I
style.
think we've been together long enough. We can resolve some things, we can work through some things, but that's another major project. And we can't deal with it. I can't deal with
Yeah,
it anyway.
I'm having a hard time with that, and it's just due. I mean, I've already committed this, and I even gave you a Christmas present. Now you're taking,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Another, it's like a, whew, zingo. I mean, wow, my stomach's just going flip, flip.
Yeah, but damn it, Derb, you were the one that had so much passion around.
Talking about it, wanting it, and putting that, planting the seed is one thing, but doing it,
Yeah.
wow, I've got work cut out.
keeps piling
the job
So,
So you're saying, yeah, you're sympathetic with the need,
Right.
and you have some passion for it, but you don't feel like you can really put more time into it.
well, I can put in some more time, but I'm just, I guess I'm relating to doing it as another real long-term project. And we've been on this one a long time.
I can support the whole thing that we are doing. It's just us being here for another however long it's going to take, and we don't know how long it's going to be.
Well, maybe we
Yeah,
can talk
but the
about that,
thing
though.
is-
How long will it take, I wonder?
Well, I mean, look at what we've gone through before. I mean, we had all these we didn't even know each other, and it took us forever to know each other and, get the name calling and stuff out of the way.
However-
And we won't have to face that again. Here we are, we can do it.
Why don't we just take it? I'll take the responsibility. I'll conduct the survey or have my people interview what the competition is doing, and then we can take it from there.
So you'll bring
Before-
recommendations back to the group then?
Absolutely. I think when we come back and meet again and we have a lot more information,
Yeah.
we'll be able to take it and pursue it
Just see
further.
what the task is.
I am a bit cautious going into the long term, but I am willing to, go with everybody and take a look at that. So I'm
Okay.
feeling real comfortable leaving today.
I'm glad you're comfortable.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday, for sure.
Okay, very different group, isn't it, in the production stage? Remember I said in the orientation stage, 80% of the airtime, Don was in control. This time it was 15%. And so the key to me is you will never have a high-performing group if the leader is not willing to share control. Never, never, never. One of the main issues is letting go of control. It doesn't mean all the control, because the manager still plays an important role as the linking pin between that group and the rest of the organization, gathering information they need to be successful. The manager and the leader also is involved still in goal setting. That's not something you abdicate, but you're more collaborative around the thing. And also monitoring and reviewing performance. Those are still important roles. But the power of the group really comes when they start to accept ownership. So let's look at what we've got in the relationship between situational leadership and stages of group development. But at orientation, the groups has real high expectations, they're excited and all, but they don't have the competency yet to work together as a group. They have high commitment, but fairly low competence. So what do they need from the leader? It's important for you to understand the group leader, the team leader, gives the group what they can't give themselves. And so in orientation, they give themselves enthusiasm and commitment and support, but they don't have the competency, so he has to give them direction. And then the natural second stage that happens is dissatisfaction. And what happens with dissatisfaction? Frustration starts to take over as the group bumps up against reality. Their high expectations just don't match reality because it's much tougher to work together than they thought. It's more complicated. People are putting pressures on them. They start getting a little defensive and leery of each other. And so their competency improves a little bit because they get more experience working together. But what takes a dip? Their commitment, particularly their motivation and their confidence. Morale kind of goes down. What does a leader have to do now? Also provide supportive behavior to kind of draw out what's happening here and some of the feelings and thoughts and frustrations and anxiety, and listen to people. And so he has to really coach them through that dissatisfaction period as this little dip in commitment happens. And then now, as we move into the resolution stage, now the group is starting to work together pretty well. And they're interacting well. People are jumping into leadership roles. And so what happens is that commitment and morale starts to go back up there. But as we said, you have to watch it because it's fragile, because people might want to avoid dealing with any kind of troublesome issue because they're afraid they're going to go back to dissatisfaction. So the leader's got to be very supportive, drawing things out of the group and seeing where they are, finding out what's happening to them, not avoiding issues, but they now have the competency to deal with them. And if he continues to support them in this, even permitting them to let some of their feelings out and get in touch with problems, issues, and finding out that they can solve them, now the group starts to ease into the production stage, where now there's high competency and high commitment. The group has the skills to work together, and they also have the confidence and the motivation. And now the leader plays a very different role as leadership is coming from all over the place. You can see it in sports. For example, one of the thrills I had the last few years is a bunch of us got invited by Casey Jones, the Celtic coach, before he retired, to go to Los Angeles and go to the shoot-around, which is the practice before they were playing the LA Lakers. And here we are watching Bird and McHale and Parrish and all that. And I'm standing there with Casey Jones, the coach. And I said, Casey, how do you manage these superstars? And he said, it's easy. I just throw the ball out. And every once in a while I yell, shoot. And I think what was fascinating about Casey Jones with that particular team, it was a peak performing team, is that when he retired, the laudits from Bird and all of these guys was the finest coach I had ever worked with, brought the best out in people. And if you actually watched his behavior in terms of the traditional directing and all, very different. Even in huddles, a lot of times, they're talking to each other. And he's just kind of letting them do it. Why did Billy Martin die never getting it? I mean, Billy Martin, as a manager of baseball, was great with the Minnesota Twins, the Texas Rangers, and the Oakland A's before they got good. He was great with rookies because he was good at directive behavior and controlling the situation. But he never could deal with the superstars that the Yankees had gathered. Why? Because he never would give up control. And it got into win-lose confrontations. And it's crazy. So you can see it in sports. We've just seen an example in business with this case study. It is exciting to watch, to take people who are excited to contribute and guide them along this journey so they can contribute. And that's what it's about. It's not a star system. I mean, how would you like on a beautiful night to be lying on the grass looking up into the sky and only seeing one star? What is magnificent is when you see the galaxy and all the stars together functioning as a beautiful whole. And that's the potential we have. And I think that's what we want, is to recognize human dignity and the power that people can contribute to the whole in a way that there is no way an individual can compete. No way an individual can perform more or better than a group of people. 1 + 1 is about 100. And that's our challenge. I think that's where we're going in the 1990s. And if you don't get that, you're going to be left behind because you can't respond, you can't do the things. The power to the people in the most positive sense. And if you can see your job as a manager, as the one who manages that journey to empowerment, you're going to get it because you're going to have the same look of pride that everybody else has. And it's not going to take one thing away from you. In fact, it's going to make you whole because you know what? We're all connected anyway. So stop avoiding it. Thanks for being with us. I hope this has an impact on you because I want to tell you, as you can see, it means a lot to me. And I think that's where we have to go. So let's go for it. Good on you.
What can I do to help you?
Bye-bye.
The service sector, a major driving force of the economy. It represents over 60% of the nation's gross national product and is the fastest growing sector of the economy. But many service industries now face new challenges largely due to government deregulation and new technologies. That's why it's so important for service companies to focus on quality.
In order to survive in the service industry, you have to want to accommodate.
The goal is continuous improvement.
Quality is so many things, but it's just simply the idea of training.
You should feel well about the personal contact that you had with us, with our employees. You have to be convinced as an institution that if quality isn't improved, survival is not ensured.
There are many ingredients behind quality service. Each is vitally important. What you're about to see is a close-up view of methods used to achieve quality service at 5 companies. Midwest Express Airline, Bank One Corporation, Lutheran General Healthcare System, Entergy Corporation, and the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Each of these companies has a unique approach to quality service, but there are some common threads. The commitment to total quality comes from the top. All employees participate in quality improvement decisions. Each company uses standards and measures for constant improvement. The airline industry. Ever since deregulation, it's been pummeled by complaints. Complaints by the government, by employees, and most of all, by passengers. One airline that has avoided the bashing is Midwest Express. The Milwaukee-based company was rated the best overall U.S. airline by Consumer Reports Travel Letter. The company was launched as a corporate airline by Kimberly-Clark in 1984. With airline deregulation, it saw an opportunity to fill a niche, a high-service airline catering to business executives. 2 across leather seating, the food, real dishes, and linen napkins drew praise from customers. But perhaps the most important ingredient of the airline's continuous success is employee training.
Their ability to interface with the customer and be responsive to the customer in a manner that is very personalized and helps the customer feel like they're an individual and not just the 100th person or 500th person that's been processed today.
That ability comes through intensive, ongoing training. New employees go through about 6 weeks' worth.
Have a nice day, Mr. or Ms. Cooper. Always, always use the passenger's last name.
Here, a broad-based knowledge of the company is developed. Employees learn about their job, the job of their department, and all other departments.
Can I have one of each? Yes, certainly. Great. Very good, very good.
Perhaps most important, new employees are inundated with information on customers, who they are, what they expect, and how to meet or go beyond those expectations.
We all 956 or so of us, have an important role in supporting that customer service. So we spend a great deal of time in the initial training educating people about the business.
Additional training takes place as employees move from one department to the next, something Midwest Express encourages.
Good morning, Midwest Express. This is Mary.
Mary Hahn joined the company in 1989 as a ramp agent, loading bags onto planes. Within months, she moved to the Ramp Operations Center, informing flight crews about available gates and directing ground crews to baggage claim areas. Today, she's a ticket agent, checking in passengers at the front counter. The purpose of moving from one area to another? Education. While the quality process is enhanced by a wide breadth of employee knowledge, it's also backed by strict technical standards. Extensive customer surveys and constant tracking of data such as arrival times, flight status, and lost baggage provide the company with the information it needs for constant improvement. Employee training, strict technical standards, and a constant effort by employees to exceed customer expectations have allowed Midwest Express to grow into a national carrier in just 7 years. Intense competitive pressures brought by deregulation are encouraging financial service companies to pursue total quality. One example, Bank One. Eager to expand beyond its home state of Ohio, Bank One launched an aggressive acquisition strategy during the late 70s. In the midst of rapid growth, it faced an important challenge, maintaining its corporate culture. To meet that challenge, it began a new focus on quality. That focus includes a commitment to do whatever it takes.
And while we can't use every suggestion, there you go.
The whatever it takes theme is a message to consumers that the bank will go out of its way to provide customer satisfaction. But just as important, it's a message to employees.
We're encouraging them to take control of the situation. And to me, the people that make this company run are not at my level. It's the people on the front line, and they are the ones that struggle day in and day out to do whatever it takes.
What I want to do is I'm just going to write a few of these ideas down. Remember, give us everything you have. That's what we're here to do.
Employees don't struggle alone. They use teamwork to seek solutions. It's in meetings like this one, held once a week, where they brainstorm ways to improve quality.
We have found that some of these ideas have made tremendous difference in terms of cost savings to the bank. We found some of the ideas have made very big differences in terms of our level of service for our customers.
And some ideas make small but important differences. For example, a teller pointed out that the envelopes used for drive-through banking weren't well designed. Because the envelopes didn't seal, coins often fell out. The teller suggested a different design, which the bank now uses.
Not too many of our customers are probably going to take that envelope and say, gee, what a wonderful idea, these envelopes are self-sticking. But the fact that we're able to provide a more quality experience to our customers coming through the drive-in bank is but a small example of things we're trying to do to find all quality opportunities.
Employee input and teamwork help the bank meet strict quality standards. Standards on how customers are treated both in person and on the phone. And the success or failure at meeting those standards is carefully measured. For example, hired shoppers act as customers and collect data on their experiences at bank branches. Customers themselves are also surveyed. The information is analyzed and employees receive individual feedback. If a problem is evident, it's the hands-on personnel who find a solution. Their involvement in quality improvement creates workable solutions and enthusiasm.
It's created a new spirit around here, and they like being involved because they're participating and are helping the future direction of the bank.
Teamwork, high standards, and constant feedback. These are important elements of Bank One's approach towards quality improvement. Clearly, the approach is working. Bank One continues its successful acquisition strategy, and industry analysts rank it among the strongest banks in the nation. The skyrocketing costs of new technology, big bureaucracies, lots of red tape, and turf battles. These are problems plaguing many industries, especially the healthcare industry. And some healthcare facilities see continuous quality improvement as the best way to attack the problems.
Good morning, Lutheran General Healthcare System.
For example, Lutheran General Healthcare System. Based in the Chicago metropolitan area, it has healthcare facilities across the country. Here, total quality improvement is at an early stage, the stage where a new corporate culture begins to emerge.
Our thrust right now is strengthening our corporate culture to continually improve everything that we're doing. It becomes kind of the way we run the business. It's not an afterthought, it's the first thought.
For every organization pursuing quality, changing corporate culture is the most important and the most difficult stage, because a strong corporate culture can only survive when people work together.
We've got to somehow surmount internal competition and become very good at cooperation, collaboration, and effective teamwork in order to stand a good chance of succeeding.
At Lutheran General, top officials spent weeks learning about total quality improvement. They made a joint, informed commitment and embodied that commitment in a mission statement. Now they're delivering on that commitment. It's a challenge that requires doing things that go against the grain of traditional management style. Things like tearing down departmental walls, psychological walls that impair people from speaking to each other. For example, physicians, nurses, and social workers, the three prominent players in patient care, had no systematic way of communicating. Now they do. Daily meetings, a simple solution to a communication problem. But making it work wasn't simple.
It took a while for people to get used to being together in a room talking about the patient as one team.
With encouragement from senior management, people began to trust each other.
There was sort of a knowledge explosion that occurred. People found out about the work that other people did that they didn't understand before. They found out how they fit into the bigger picture. And they very quickly were able to come up with ideas about possible solutions to problems that we hadn't been able to solve for a long time.
Along with communication, Lutheran General's quality improvement effort requires constant monitoring of costs, length of hospital stays, post-operative complications, and customer satisfaction. Information from internal customers, such as physicians, nurses, and department heads, is also monitored. The information provides the basis of decisions on what's working and what needs further attention. Already, there are some success stories. At this hospital geriatric unit, the average length of stay has been reduced 2 full days. At the same time, patient satisfaction has increased, so has employee morale. But the corporate culture that makes quality thrive will take time.
I think it's going to take about 5 years for people to really get the feeling that a cultural shift has occurred. That takes the longest of all. You can see results in individual projects fairly quickly. To change the culture of an organization, that takes a long time.
A change in corporate culture, education, and communication. These are keys to continuous quality improvement at Lutheran General Healthcare System. Monopolistic, uncaring, inefficient. These are words that used to describe utilities. But today, because of deregulation and new technologies, a more competitive environment is emerging. Some utilities are responding with a new focus on quality and customer satisfaction. At Entergy Corporation, a New Orleans holding company with electric generating subsidiaries in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, the focus involves listening and learning from customers.
You've got to talk, you've got to listen to the customer, and there's no better way than to partner that relationship. That is, you both come to the table as equals and you discuss the problem openly and forthrightly.
During the mid-'80s, Entergy found itself in severe financial straits, and its subsidiaries faced angry customers, large industrial customers who were threatening to go elsewhere for electricity if service didn't improve. One of those customers is Shell Oil. This refinery had lost millions of dollars due to service outages. Along with the threats from Shell came an offer to develop a partnership for quality improvement with Entergy's subsidiary, Louisiana Power and Light.
It was a good learning experience for us because it was one of the first partnering relationships we had, and it was also one of the first times we had a chance to actually apply quality principles in a process with our customers on a head-to-head basis.
There were 2 keys to the partnership's success. First, no finger-pointing. No one was to blame colleagues for the service outages. Second, the we versus them attitude among employees at both companies had to cease. With these rules in mind, teams with employees from both Shell and LP&L were formed.
If both parties work toward a common goal, then you'll get there much quicker and much better results.
Their success is clear. The LP&L Shell team recently ranked among the top contenders for the Shell President's Award, a national honor for suppliers providing superior quality and service. The technical improvements due to the partnership haven't just increased the quality of service for Shell, but for many other customers.
We don't segregate our system for industrial, commercial, residential. They're all on a common system, so whatever we've done to improve things at Shell has had a beneficial effect on the other customers.
Another goal, to apply other lessons learned from the Shell partnership to residential service.
Very welcome.
Learning from customers. It's an important method of quality improvement at Entergy Corporation, and the efforts are paying off. Entergy's financial picture is vastly improved and is expected to grow stronger during the next decade.
And my name is Heather, if I can do anything for you, and I hope you enjoy your stay with us.
Few service industries face as demanding customers as the hotel business. After all, comfort is what's sought here, and comfort to one person might be a very different thing to another. So when the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company developed a corporate mission, it kept the wording simple, but ambitious as well.
We're here to comply to your wishes, even the unexpressed wishes. That's precisely, again, what service is.
Good afternoon, Mr. Krause. Welcome back.
The Ritz-Carlton philosophy is to provide warm, personal service. That service is well orchestrated, from the time a guest arrives to the time they check out of the hotel. The high standards and a systematic approach toward service are found in each of the 25 hotels. The goal, quality consistency at each location.
It goes across the company. The processes in every hotel are the same, and consequently, the results.
The quality process is strengthened by a custom-designed computer system. Personal preferences, such as a non-smoking room or a down-filled pillow, are noted. The system allows employees to anticipate guest needs.
We're trying to build service tailor-made for you. When you come back, we know what went wrong. We know what you like, what you dislike.
Providing a consistent experience also requires a consistent approach by employees. This requires training.
Please use your black toothbrush, dust behind those, and wipe the phones down thoroughly and the inside as well. I know we do that every day, but I really want to focus on the part behind.
Employee training is repeated every day on the belief that adults cannot be taught behavior, but can be taught habits.
Our motto, if you will, throughout the organization is ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. That's the cornerstone of what we're all about.
The success or failure at meeting quality standards is measured each day. For example, when rooms are inspected, a number of items are tracked. The same standards apply to each of the hotels, no matter where it's located. In an effort to meet those standards, employees share their quality improvement ideas.
Well, we have a quality network board system that we use that at any time an employee that has an idea that's going to better affect our guest satisfaction or employees' work environment or even profit the hotel, they can come up with ideas that they use the boards and work in teams actually to better improve.
A focus on consistency, high standards that are measured each day. These are some important elements of quality at the Ritz-Carlton, and they appear to be working. In a recent Zagat survey, an independent survey of 5,400 frequent travelers, the Ritz-Carlton was named Best Hotel Chain. What you've just seen are elements of quality in the service sector. Employee training, a team approach, a strong corporate culture, learning from customers, consistent service. These are important avenues towards quality improvement and customer satisfaction, avenues which must be taken in the quest for total quality.